Welcome to today's Explainer. You know that feeling of running on a financial treadmill? You're working incredibly hard, but somehow you're just stuck in the exact same spot. Well, the data shows you are definitely not alone. Today, we're decoding the everyday, almost invisible financial behaviors that silently trap millions of people in a cycle of poverty. We're going to dig right into this blueprint and break down those invisible barriers to your financial freedom. Let's get right into it. So why do some people seem to get richer every single year, while others work grueling hours their whole lives yet constantly struggle just to make ends meet? I mean, we're taught that hard work equals financial success, right? But if that were entirely true, the hardest working people we know would be billionaires. The answer to this paradox isn't about luck, it's not about raw intelligence, and it isn't even just about the size of your paycheck. The true answer is actually hidden in the daily, seemingly insignificant money habits that most of us never even notice. It's a behavioral blueprint. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the psychology of wealth and why we sabotage it. Because honestly, before we can fix our bank accounts, we really have to understand our brains. Financial success is actually way more about psychology and behavior than it is about math. It's true. Most people unknowingly sabotage their finances simply because they're playing the wrong game. See, there's this massive, dangerous illusion in our society that equates being rich with building wealth. But they are fundamentally entirely different things. Being rich is loud. It's characterized by a high income, sure, but it's completely swallowed up by high expenses. It's the luxury car, the designer clothes, the massive mortgage. It's driven entirely by maintaining appearances. Building wealth, on the other hand, is often completely invisible. Wealth is the money you haven't spent. It's the accumulated assets, the investment portfolios, the freedom to wake up and literally do whatever you want. Being rich is a performance, but building wealth? That's true freedom, and chasing the performance almost always destroys the freedom. Moving on to habit number 1, living beyond your means, or as I like to call it, the visibility trap. The core of this visibility trap is something called lifestyle inflation. We live in a world where we're constantly pressured to prove our success to everyone else, and man, this really plays out in our spending habits. Imagine a guy named Alex. Alex gets a well-deserved $10,000 raise at work. He is thrilled, but almost immediately, he decides he deserves a better apartment. He finances a newer, flashier car. He starts eating at way nicer restaurants. Within 3 months, that entire $10,000 raise has completely vanished into new monthly payments. In fact, because of the interest on his new car loan, Alex actually has less free cash flow now than he did before the promotion. The psychology behind this is that sneaking feeling that we need to reward ourselves for making more money. But the consequence, it's a continuous debt cycle where your expenses rise to perfectly match or even exceed your new income. The practical solution here is simple, but requires immense discipline. When your income goes up, lock in your old lifestyle and invest the difference. But as dangerous as lifestyle inflation is, it's often something we can at least see if we look hard enough. What we're going to explore next is a habit that silently destroys more wealth than almost anything else. It's a completely invisible drain in your financial life, and the worst part, most people don't even realize it's happening to them. Which brings us to habit 2, the missing budget trap, where your money just disappears. Now, what's really interesting here is that most people believe avoiding their numbers is completely normal. We think budgets are restrictive, or, let's be real, we're just terrified to look at our bank statements and confront the reality of our spending. But refusing to track your money is exactly what keeps you financially stuck. When you look at the unconscious spender's paycheck, the leaks are incredibly obvious. Notice how huge those slices are for things offering zero long-term value. You've got impulse buys at 2 a.m., you have the painful reality of debt interest, which is basically money you pay just for the privilege of having bought something you couldn't afford in the past. And then there are those phantom subscriptions, the streaming service you haven't even opened since 2019 but are somehow still paying for every single month. Successful people don't magically avoid expenses. They meticulously track them. They treat their household finances like a business. Remember, if you don't track it, you simply cannot control it. Habit 3, spending before you save. This is the broken equation. This habit represents a deeply ingrained, completely flawed way of handling money. The vast majority of people operate on this broken equation. They get paid, they pay their bills, buy groceries, go out, and they tell themselves, I'll save whatever is left over at the end of the month. But let's be honest with ourselves here. Because of human nature and a world that is literally engineered to make us spend, there is never anything left over. Never. To break this habit, you have to completely flip the script and adopt the principle of paying yourself first. This means that before the landlord gets paid, before the utility company gets paid, and absolutely before Netflix gets paid, you route a set portion of your income directly toward your own future. You are prioritizing your future wealth over your current consumption, and that completely changes your financial trajectory. Let's break down exactly how to execute this beautifully simple three-step solution. Step 1, you receive your paycheck. Step 2, you set up a system with your bank so that a percentage, let's say 10 or 20%, is instantly and automatically transferred into your investment or savings account. Step 3, you live on whatever is left. By making step 2 completely automatic, you remove human error. Actually, scratch that. You remove willpower from the equation entirely. You create a healthy, artificial scarcity in your checking account, which naturally forces you to budget better with the remainder. It basically guarantees that your wealth building actually happens. Let's move to the next part and see how this builds, because what you're about to learn next separates wealthy people from absolutely everyone else. The first 3 habits were about how we handle the money flowing through our hands on a daily basis. But now, we need to look at the architectural structure of your financial life, because if your financial foundation is flawed, the whole house is eventually going to collapse under the pressure. Section 5, Income and Liability Mistakes. These are habits 4 and 5. In engineering, relying on a single structural support is known as a single point of failure. If that one support breaks, catastrophe follows. Yet, structurally speaking, most of us build our entire financial lives around just one pillar, a single paycheck from a single employer. Think about that for a second. If the economy shifts, if a company restructures, or if an unexpected health issue pops up, your income drops to zero overnight. The financial risk here is absolutely massive. That's exactly why wealthy people always structure their lives to diversify their income. They have a primary business, side investments, dividend-paying stocks, or real estate. They build multiple pillars so that if one crumbles, the roof doesn't cave in on their family. So the crucial point is what happens to that money next. When it comes to where that money goes, we run into the execution failure of habit 5. Now, we all know the basic definitions of assets and liabilities. It's Finance 101, right? A liability takes money out of your pocket, and an asset puts money in. But the execution is where hard workers get trapped. Poor and middle-class individuals consistently buy depreciating liabilities under the guise of success, mistakenly thinking they're acquiring assets. That brand new luxury car you bought to look rich, the one that requires expensive insurance, high maintenance, and depreciates the second you drive it off the lot, that is a textbook liability execution trap. The fundamental wealth rule is to buy assets that generate income, and then use that newly generated income to buy your luxuries. Never, ever the other way around.
Section 6, the unseen financial saboteurs.
Wow, we have covered a lot of ground in this explainer today. We've explored the first 5 habits: succumbing to lifestyle inflation, refusing to budget, spending before you save, relying on a single point of failure, and the execution trap of buying liabilities instead of assets. These form the foundational behavioral blueprints that secretly keep hardworking people trapped in poverty. But here's the stark reality. Breaking these first 5 habits will only get you halfway there. If these 5 are actively draining your accounts today, what are the remaining 5 hidden saboteurs quietly guaranteeing you stay broke in the future? We are going to expose those final insidious money traps in part 2 of this explainer. You absolutely won't want to miss it, because the final habit is the one almost everyone gets wrong. Until then, take a hard look at your own financial blueprint. Are you building wealth or just looking rich?
Did you know that nearly half of all 6-figure earners are literally living paycheck to paycheck? It's wild! Welcome back to part 2 of this explainer. If you were here for part 1, you know we started tearing down the invisible barriers that keep incredibly hardworking people trapped in a perpetual cycle of poverty. Today, we're shifting gears from the why to the how. We're going to uncover the specific behaviors that drain high incomes and, more importantly, explore exactly how you can become the architect of your own wealth. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with a quick recap on the wealth divide, then cover the 5 fatal money habits, the wealthy mindset shift, 7 daily money habits, your 12-month action plan, and finally, the secret to lasting wealth. Let's dive right in.
Section 1 Recap. The wealth divide. Before we uncover the final traps, let's just quickly remember that stark divide we established in part 1. Think of these like invisible cracks in your financial foundation. You can work 80 hours a week, but if you're living paycheck to paycheck, operating without a budget, buying depreciating liabilities instead of assets, and running with zero emergency fund, your money is just vanishing. Add in that sneaky lifestyle creep, like upgrading your car the absolute second you get a raise, and it is no wonder people feel stuck. We've already covered how those first 5 steps completely drain your resources. But now we have to confront the final 5 behaviors that keep smart, hardworking people trapped. And heads up, These last 5 are way more subtle.
Section 2, 5 Fatal Money Habits. Let's look at how these subtle behaviors actively sabotage your future, picking right back up with habit number 6.
Habit number 6 is ignoring investing. You know, a lot of people treat a basic savings account like it's the ultimate financial finish line. But saving cash alone, it's actually kind of psychologically misleading. You feel secure, sure, but thanks to inflation acting as the silent compounding tax, you are mathematically guaranteeing a loss of purchasing power every single year. The real trap here is risk aversion. People are so terrified of the perceived volatility of investing that they just accept the guaranteed erosion of their cash. Ignoring investing costs you massive long-term wealth because you completely miss out on compound growth, which is where your capital actually goes out and works to acquire more capital for you.
Habit 7 is careless credit card use. I mean, think of it like a treadmill that perfectly captures the minimum payment trap. Credit cards can be incredible tools when you're optimizing cash flow, but they turn absolutely toxic when you use them to bridge the gap between your income and your immediate desires. Paying just the minimum is this brilliantly engineered psychological mechanism designed by banks to keep you complacent while they just rake in your interest revenue. Every time you impulse buy something you don't need and only pay the minimum, you chain yourself right back to that treadmill. You're basically dedicating a massive chunk of your future labor to pay off the interest on yesterday's impatience.
Habit number 8, never learning about money. It is so deeply ironic that people will eagerly take on $100,000 in student loans to get a degree just to make money, but they completely hesitate to spend $20 on a book to learn how to actually keep it. The wealthy totally understand that learning basic tax strategies, market mechanics, and asset allocation gives you an astronomical return on investment. Seriously, if you refuse to learn the rules of the financial system, you're pretty much guaranteeing you'll be outplayed by the institutions that wrote those rules in the first place.
Habit number 9 is trying to get rich quick. We all suffer from FOMO in this hyper-connected world, right? We see these isolated lottery winners or crypto billionaires, and we want that immediate shortcut. But if you compare the wild volatility of meme stocks and modern Ponzi schemes to the profound lasting wealth built by patient investing, it is literally night and day. Chasing anomalies almost always destroys your principal capital. True wealth generation is highly disciplined, and honestly, it's incredibly boring. Time in the market will always dominate trying to perfectly time the market.
Finally, habit 10 is waiting for the perfect time. Let me ask you, why wait for the perfect time when it mathematically doesn't even exist? Procrastination here is usually disguised as prudence. People say, oh, I'm just waiting for a market correction, or I'll start when I make a little more money. But that psychological trap completely ignores the brutal math of opportunity cost. Small, consistent actions right now absolutely crush perfect timing tomorrow. Why? Because the single most heavily weighted variable in wealth creation isn't your starting capital, it's time.
Section 3. The Wealthy Mindset Shift. The wealthiest people in the world rarely talk about this, but one profound psychological shift fundamentally changes everything.
The contrast here is huge. A financially struggling mindset is completely consumer-driven. It's obsessed with status, constantly asking, what can I buy today to signal success to my friends right now? It demands immediate gratification. But the wealthy mindset, that is completely investor-driven. It operates on a long-term timeline, asking, what assets can I acquire today that will quietly cash flow for the next 20 years? They honestly do not care about appearing rich, they are laser-focused on actually being wealthy. It's a massive shift from consuming the value created by others to owning the systems that create value.
Section 4. 7 Daily Money Habits. So, you might be wondering, how do you actually translate this grand mindset shift into everyday behavior?
It really comes down to weaving these 7 micro habits into your daily routine. Track expenses, read financial news, automate savings, review goals, avoid impulse buys, invest consistently, and continually educate yourself. Think of it as a system of awareness, automation, and education. You build awareness by meticulously tracking your spending. You remove human error through automation, like paying yourself first so the world can't spend your money before you do. And you protect your capital by instituting things like a 24-hour rule to kill impulse buys. Over time, these small daily habits compound, exactly like interest.
Section 5. Your 12-month action plan. Let's take all of this theory and turn it into a concrete, realistic roadmap.
What I absolutely love about this 12-month timeline is that it totally removes the overwhelm. Month 1, you aren't trying to change the world, you're just auditing your reality by tracking your spending. By month 3, you're actively stopping the common mistakes, like cutting up credit cards if you carry a balance.
By month 6, your sole focus is aggressively building that emergency fund, which turns life's inevitable disasters into minor inconveniences. And by month 12, you've crossed the bridge. You are consistently and automatically investing. Breaking the cycle doesn't require a miracle, guys. It just requires a sequence.
Section 6. The Secret to Lasting Wealth. We've finally arrived at the ultimate truth behind breaking the cycle of poverty once and for all.
Financial discipline is simply far more important than your income. Wealth is all about consistent habits, not overnight success. You could literally generate $1 million a year, but if you run it through a leaky bucket of undisciplined lifestyle inflation, you're still profoundly broke at the end of the day. True financial independence is quiet. It's reading a book on a Saturday morning instead of blowing $200 at a brunch you don't even care about. It's letting your capital compound while you drive a paid-off car. You are the architect of your life, and today is the day you stop renting your future and start owning it.
So, which money habit are you going to change first today? You've got the blueprint now, but let's be real. A blueprint is completely useless if you don't actually pour the concrete. Leave a comment below with the one specific habit you're committing to changing starting right now. And hey, if this explainer helped give you the tools to command your financial future, please hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an update. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.